All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Ohm School Live. We have the shape of water, mind conditioning, and consciousness here with spiritual teacher, master spiritual teacher, GP Walsh, with myself, Lisa Berry. Okay. Diving into the important good stuff here. The shape of water. I am introducing this topic right away as I step into my student shoes and really feel
Master
like
student, Lisa Berry.
yes. The shape of water, because you know what? We can't imagine that. We were like, wait, what is the shape of water? But there's a reason why we've titled it the shape of water. You are using this to help teach us so that our minds can grasp this, but we're going to blow it right out of the water here by having you define, first of all, why? Okay, this is an open question about everything. Why is it so difficult for us to grasp and understand without using similes and parables and things like that, our very own nature of who we are?
The reason it's difficult to grasp without stories and metaphors and myths and parables is that what you are is not a concept. It cannot be grasped by the mind. Because the mind can only deal in concepts. That is, they're objects of thought, right? Just like, so this is a microphone. The mind can't grasp the fact that the microphone that I'm talking into is made of just countless other little parts that are temporarily functioning as a microphone, right? So the mind just goes, microphone, boom, makes an object in the mind, even though it doesn't match reality in the slightest. We say the same thing about the body, right? We say the body, and it's singular, right? The body, a body. But in fact, it's made up of like 50 to 100 trillion living beings, right? They're not just little, pieces of rock and stuff. They're living creatures that have a life cycle and everything. So what then are you? Right? So you can only point away from the conceptions of the mind to have an experience of that which is not a concept, right? And it is not a concept, which means it's not a form. Right? The mind can only recognize form. The mind itself is a form, right? But the reality of your being is you're not a form. And that the first mistake we make that causes the existential crisis is believing the thought, I am the body. In that moment, consciousness conforms itself to the body and then literally becomes it. And the schizophrenia of the mind is that which is simply a concept in the mind is believed to be an actual objective thing. This is the essential schizophrenia, which makes, in fact, an idolatry. I've created something. I believe it's objectively real, and so now I bow down and worship it.
Right. Okay, so that's okay, interesting. So you said the word experience in there. So are we an experience? If we're not if we're not the body, are we an experience experiencing the body?
Well, that's interesting, but let's look at what an experience is. Again, let's point directly to it. What is it, right? At night, when you fall into deep sleep, dreamless sleep, right? Total slumber. There's no experience.
Right.
There's nothing. There's absolutely nothing. There's no thoughts. There's no sensations. There's no nothing, which means there's no you. There's no concept of I. But are you still there?
Yes, I think so. I think so. I don't
You're
know.
there without an experience. You're just being. So obviously, you're not the experience, because when experience goes away, you're still here. Okay. So you can't be an experience either. You see, all experience is a form, isn't it? It's all something. It has a beginning and end. It's easily measurable. Right? Like I said, you're not a form, which means you're not an experience either. You cannot experience yourself.
Right. Okay. That question came from when we were talking about the body and how we are. That's a tough one for a lot of people. And please comment if that's where you are. Like, no, wait a second, I am the body, and I'm really connected to the body, and I feel this, because my mind went to wondering, if I'm not the body, can I at least, do we, I don't want to say blame or be grateful or thank ourselves. Let's just say I'm in perfect health and I'm like, yes, that's because I took care of myself. And then I can be proud of that. Or if I'm not well and I have an illness, or I'm overweight, or I'm upset with something, I think, that's because I did something to my body and now I'm this experience. Is that a shape? Is our body a shape representing ourselves, or just conditioning that we've done? Or
How far down the rabbit hole do you want to go?
we're eventually going to go really far. I might have jumped a bunny hop.
Yeah, the bunny hop. Well, first off, everything I'm about to say, I need to preface that none of this is license to ignore or abuse your body. Right? The fact that I'm not my car doesn't mean I just drive it off of a cliff, right? Or I don't put gas in it and change the oil and service it or clean it, right? But I'm not my car, right? But I take care of my car, right? Okay. So I can be something other than the body and still take care of the body, right? So that's one level of a relationship. That's the first step when I've come to the point where I see that the idea that I am the body conforms the mind to thinking in those terms, and therefore, if I believe myself to be the body, the conditions of the body are my conditions. Its destiny is my destiny. Of course, the body's destiny is to die. And so I freak out because I think if the body dies, I die, right? The body's destiny is to get old, right? So I think, okay, if I'm the body, well, then I'm afraid of getting old. It's going to lose its looks. It's going to lose its elasticity and all of that kind of stuff. So if I believe myself to be there, my mind will conform that, and I will have the experience as if I was the body, right? But if I realize that I'm not, then I can just let the body do its thing without being concerned. And so as the body starts to, decay and eventually fall away, I'll watch it fall away because it isn't me, right? I am that invisible, formless essence that animates it. Without me, it wouldn't be moving, right? It wouldn't be able to do anything. It's not sentient. I am. And if you want to take it to the ultimate, all the way down the rabbit hole, the body is nothing but a thought in the mind. It too is not an objective thing that exists out in the world somewhere. So that's the complete reversal of it, where you see that at the first it's the mind taking on the attributes of the body, but then you realize the attributes of the body were in fact created by the mind. It doesn't have any attributes. It is exactly what you think it is and nothing else. And now the entire thing becomes consciousness. It's all myself. And there is no such thing as a body. There's no such thing as a mind. There is only myself. Now, if that went by you, don't try to do anything with it. Notice I went in steps to get to the ultimate. The ultimate is, it's an incredibly beautiful discovery. It's not a really safe teaching.
Well, what came to mind is that I like the car analogy. That was really helpful, because then I also think about the different kinds of cars: the very expensive European cars, the sports cars, the shine cars, the old broken down, going on its last leg cars, the rusty ones. And then I think, well, wait a second. If I have been in those old rusty, old beat up cars, and I, been in the fancy cars, and I do feel different. I am experiencing something different. Am I experiencing it differently though, not because of others? Let's say I'm in a car club and I'm in the fancy car club. If I showed up with an old car and they're all in their fancy cars, am I taking the shape of I'm not as good as they are because they are thinking that of me, like talking about the shape of water here. If we're all water, they've taken the shape that they are in a fancy car, and I've taken the shape that, ooh, I'm in an ugly car.
Not so fancy.
Yeah. So do we allow others to put their container on us, even when we're like, no, I'm water. I don't have this
Well, yeah.
container.
If you're water, if you really realize I'm not my car, it has nothing to do with who I am. It has nothing to define about my identity. I don't seek status from it. I don't seek position. I don't seek to impress other people with it. Then it has no meaning whatsoever, right? Wow, you look at the nice, the shiny Lamborghini. And go, wow, that's very cool, right? I was in my son's Tesla. It's very, very cool. What can I say? It's a cool car, and if I drove around in Tesla, I would feel the Tesla, right?
Right. Yeah.
And if I was driving a Lamborghini, I would drive the Lamborghini. I would drive it the way it could be driven, right? And if I'm driving a Citroen Kangoo, which may be the ugliest car on the road, well, then that's what I do, right? Consciousness naturally adapts itself to the environment. You take consciousness and put it in a cat body, and it will have the cat experience. Same consciousness, the same consciousness that's in the cats in you and I, but it simply is having a different experience, right? You put you in a male body, it'll be a very different experience. Put it in a black body or an Asian body. I mean, it'll be a different experience, but you will remain the same. This is the essence to grasp. And there's many people here, maybe most, that believe believe in reincarnation in multiple bodies. Well, you had a completely different experience in a different body, right? But what went from body to body to body?
Right.
That's the same. So the essence of you, the reality of you, the formless you that cannot be put into words, that easily animates any form that it happens to come in contact, that appears in it, right? That's formless and limitless and boundless, and is, but but is nothing in particular. When we identify with that rather than the body, we are free. We are free to move whatever we need to move, and we are free to get the most out of this body.
Okay. Yes. I like that. What was just removed there for me was that we're not judging the container or the shape that is holding the water, because it's not about getting a better shape or a better container or a newer, bigger, smaller, whichever one. It's about respecting the shape, like not respecting, but just I'm here. This is the shape. And
this is what it is.
This is what it is. Right.
I play tuba, not flute. So I can't play flute songs on a tuba. Okay. So this is a tuba.
Right. And so let's say somebody's in a really crappy life. They don't like it. But it's not, it's that they're just aware that they're ready for a different experience. And there's
because of that strong identification, right? If I'm identified with the Lamborghini and somebody scratches my Lamborghini, I'm going to be horrified. Or if something happens and all of a sudden I find myself in a Yugo, right, or a Kia or something, my sense of self is going to be affected, right? And there's plenty of people that are like that have that experience. They very much think of themselves in terms of what they have and their clothes and how they and the job that they have and their prestige, and so they have identified, beyond even the body. They've identified with belief systems. They've identified with their income level. They've identified with political views, and so because of that, you feel very attached to it. So when they're threatened or they fall away, I feel in pain, right? But if I realize that it's just a form, it's just one of a million forms that just happens to be here in this moment and it has nothing to do with me, there's no room for suffering in that.
Right.
And then you let things be as they are. But the paradox is that when that happens, as I disidentify with the body becomes more flexible. It becomes more free. Because what I think I am is binding that as well, right? If I say this is all a tuba can possibly play, right? I'm just going to do polkas, right? There could be a whole world there that it could do, that you're not going to be able to take any advantage of. And I've heard stuff like that, heard things on instruments that you wouldn't think it would have worked. And went, my God, it worked. Somebody moved into that territory. I mean, that's the whole purpose of art, is to do that continually, right? Or somebody who, there's one street artist that I saw, was just brilliant. He just goes around to where the graffiti is, and he takes the graffiti, he doesn't cover it up, he turns it into a picture. It's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. Somebody come along and graffiti it again, and he'll just do it again.
Right. Doing it together, actually. Yeah, now they're co-creating this.
They're co-creating. Yeah, it's brilliant.
Yes. So this is interesting. Now I'm thinking about the container. We're not necessarily like, oh, I'm done with that container, I'm going to go into a new one. It's more, we're just recombobulating. We're like a Rubik's Cube. It's still the same Rubik's Cube, but we're looking at a different face.
Ultimately, the container disappears.
Oh.
I'm not contained by anything. And yet the form can be there. So it's no longer the container of consciousness. It is an image in consciousness. And consciousness is the ultimate infinite container. This is the 180 shift. I mean, I talk about the container in the shape of water in the beginning because it's very hard to grasp the body as in the mind rather than the mind in the body. For most people, that's what it is. And it explains how the nervous system gets conditioned into certain patterns. Whereas you take a kid in one environment, he'll be one way, put him in another environment, he'll be a different way, same kid, right? What's the difference? Well, the nervous system is conforming itself, it's adapting to that particular environment. And that's what it does. And that's what it'll always do. Now, if I recognize that I am not that, then I am free, right? I have a freedom, and now it also frees the whole nervous system up to be able to more easily adapt. It also frees you up to have more power to change the environment that it will adapt to. And so that's at that phase. But then it can keep going. The non-dual inquiry can keep going all the way to the point where the container disappears completely. There is no container. It is all whatever I happen to think it is. That forms the container, recognizing that it is just an image in the mind, and it completely dissolves. The ego, the mind, the world, the universe, it all just dissolves into the self.
I'm glad you brought. I was going to ask you. I have to look at my question because I was going to ask you: is an environment a condition, or is it a perception of environment? I was going to kind of get there. Is because I think about the shape in that container. So is the environment a container, or is it a condition? Like what is an environment?
Well, this is interesting because, again, there's levels here and there's different ways of perceiving it. And it really depends on where you draw the line. From the point of view of the child, the environment is the container, isn't it? That's all they know.
Right.
And so but if you take a step back, you realize that environment is also part of a bigger container, which is the culture and the interaction and all that. And that's part of a bigger container. And you can just keep going and all the way up to the entire universe.
Right.
At every level, it's like fractals, right? At every level, it forms another form, which then goes into another form. And when you realize that there's just this infinite continuum there. And I'm just arbitrarily drawing a line here, right? Which allows me to make some sense in us to have a conversation, right? But you realize that it's an arbitrary drawing of the line. Because now I could take a step back and I could look at the family, which is the main part of my container, as part of a larger container, which is the computer or the community. And then there's and then that's part of the larger, you get to cultures and the variations with the cultures and the religion, right? And you see that all we're doing is taking this enormously interconnected oneness and kind of carving out one little part to look at it, and then thinking that's all there is to it. We try to forget that it's simply an instance of this big thing, and to finally go, oh my God, it's one thing. There's just one thing here.
Yes. I like that. That was one of the questions I was going to say is how can the container be removed, or is it only? It's not how can it be removed. How do we see that it's been removed? Is that enlightenment? Is that an awakening? Is that
That's
a
an
newness?
awakening. The moment you see that I am not the body, that this is simply the way I was trained to be, and it's not what I actually am, that's a huge moment of awakening. And at that moment, the entire course and motivation of your life switches. It turns inward, right? Inevitably. Because if I recognize that simple fact, I've now shifted the relationship between myself and all the stuff that's been bugging me, all the problems that I'm having. They're not me anymore. They're simply the way I've been trained to be. And knowing that they're the way I've been trained to be and not what I am gives me the power to train them differently. Now I have the possibility for actually creating a life and even going beyond it.
Okay, I like that you said. Okay, so my question came in and says, do we defend a shape? And when you said about that being trained, like, okay, so if I'm too busy defending my shape, like, no, I'm so conditioned that now I need to defend this to feel safe.
Yes.
How can I even shift a little bit to be open to being trained? Do I want to be trained in a new way? Yes, I guess I do, because I need to get rid of this one. I don't want to fix it. Wait, hold on here. I guess that's where I want to go, is about the defending of the shape. How do we stop that when it's our only safety?
Well, it only feels safe because you're identified with it. And if you feel identified with it, you're going to defend it. You're going to try to protect it. And it works at the level of the body, of family, culture. I mean, identify with my religion, right? So I'm going to defend. Mine is the right religion. And I identify with my country. Mine is the right country. And I identify with the economic system or the political system, right? And then I make somebody else as an enemy. It happens all the way up and down the line. And it all starts from that identification with the body. These are all just variations of that theme. And as the sense of self develops, it's constantly identifying itself and re-identifying itself with something else. Even the desire to, the willingness to even look at conditioning to see if it is conditioning or if it's really true is an awakening in and of itself. Because if you talk to an evangelical, they won't question it. This is the fact. And it doesn't even matter how much evidence to the contrary that you give to them. You can demonstrate quite clearly that almost nothing in the Bible ever actually happened. And yet they will deny it. No, it had to. No, this is what happened. This is what happened. Right? I mean, even though all the evidence is laid out in front of you, and they will defend it. And of course, the more threatened people come, the more violent, the more aggressive they become about it too. So now evangelicals want to take over the government. They want the government run according to Mosaic law. Right? And that's the inevitable outcome. And you see that in the Muslim countries with Sharia law. Right? And none of it's true.
Right. This is a weird connection here, but this will make sense to me. About phobias. If I'm going to say this, if phobias are a container, if that is a shape, and we feel safe from something else, because we have this phobia, I'm afraid of water, I'm afraid of heights, I'm afraid of spiders, I'm afraid of this. That's a container shape, and our consciousness is in there, we think, that's our thing. And we defend it because we're like, yeah, because if I leave this and don't believe, if I don't even explore that, what if I wasn't really afraid of heights? Maybe I could talk to a spider and love it or something. Is the defending and not being able to even say I could, is that just such a conditioning that we just can't get through that one? So what has to happen so that we can at least open up?
Well, you have to remember that the things like phobias and a lot of this stuff are automatic responses. They're way beyond thought. So it's not like, if I believed differently, because it's an autonomic reaction. Okay? This is Neptune.
Oh, what? You've never told me there's this cat What?
There's
Oh,
three.
how
There's three. Oh,
beautiful.
there's three cats. There's three cats and a dog that live here. Yeah, yeah. So,
Everybody here, I mean, an
But,
extreme cat lover, cat mom. That's why I just
yes,
freaked out. It was the most
I just
beautiful
freaked out. Yeah,
Neptune. Oh,
yeah.
thank you for
That's
sharing,
that.
Neptune.
That's Neptune. I thought I knew you'd want
I
to meet
do,
that. What were we
yes.
talking about? Oh yeah, cat phobias,
Okay.
um, or cat attachment, or cat attachment.
Attachment, yes.
These are associations that were made in the nervous system so that the reaction is automatic. Even the thought of a spider to somebody who's got the anacrophobia will cause just tremors to run through the body. That's not thought. No,
Right.
that's not a
Okay.
conscious. That's not a conceptual process. That is that is pure reaction. That is pure reflex, and it's just been trained in such a way that that's going to happen. And that's why it's so difficult. They're so difficult to cure. Matter of fact, the only thing I've known that cures it is tapping.
And
um,
why is that
because
just the mind?
tapping rewires at that level. It doesn't work at the conceptual level. You put somebody, somebody can think of a spider, but at the same time, they're getting a message from the body that says you're safe. There's a cognitive dissonance in there that the environment has changed, right?
Oh,
And
yeah.
because the environment has changed, there's a new element in the environment. The nature of the nervous system is to adapt to that environment. And so it starts to resolve these two things. And what happens is that the phobias begin to diminish because the safety, because it seeks safety. That's the whole point. That's what all of this is about. And so when safety is found, that is predominant. That will be the most attractive thing. That's what we all gravitate towards. And the only reason we resist things in our life is the nervous system doesn't think it's safe, period. Success isn't safe. Wealth isn't safe. Good relationship isn't safe.
Right. And is that why I love that you said introducing a new element? And I know with tapping, we go gently. We don't just whoosh, go to the fear, go to the thing that's you're the opposite of, or that what you want. It's gently allowing the nervous system to adapt to this new introduced element in the environment. I'm loving this. And is that also why, if we're thinking about we're taking that shape, the container away, then the water does retain the shape until another wall is built or another guide is said, come over here.
Yeah. At one level, look, we're not living in our childhood environments anymore, right?
Right.
So why are those childhood traumas still there?
Oh, yeah.
It's a very reasonable question, right? We could say, well, it's kind of like frozen like water and the environment's gone away, but it's still in the same shape. That's one way of looking at it. But the actual fact is that's never the case. If the environment shifts, it adapts to it. It means that somehow that environment as a child is still being maintained.
Yeah.
We're not aware of how we're doing it, but it is still being maintained, and you are. And one of the ways we do that is through self-improvement. Because there was something wrong with you, your parents, was something wrong, you had to fix it, that's not good, you shouldn't be doing that, right? So what happens when we take up self-help? Oh, you're broken, you got to be fixed, there's something wrong with you, we got to change you. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
And so it may be a little bit different, and it'll mutate a little bit, it'll morph a little bit into that new shape, but basically that same essential relationship that I am incomplete as myself, I am limited, I am bound, I am mortal, that underlying assumption is still there. And that doesn't go until we begin to realize I am not the body. Up to that point, all of our efforts, even the best efforts of EFT, will have a boundary on them, make enormous improvements and become quite functional. But until that last thing is seen, that I am not anything in particular, I am not a form, and the identification with form itself falls away. And Eckhart Tolle talks about identification with form all the time. When that happens, boom, that's when the floodgates open.
Okay, I have a giant question. Is consciousness always safe?
Yes. How
Okay, 'cause
how
I think
can
I
there
believe
be
that.
how can there be any danger for something where nothing else exists but itself.
Yeah, that sounds like I'm laying on a hammock on a beach with with walls around me. Nobody can get in.
Yeah. Well, that's exactly it. I mean, what is space fear?
Knowing that it's space, like, can does the consciousness ever fear that it might realize it's the only thing and be lonely? Like, hey, I'm alone.
It's very interesting. They actually address that in the Upanishads. Right?
Oh,
Yes, and out of that feeling, it's kind of one of the creation stories. I mean, it's the same thing in the Bible that God wanted a
yes,
companion.
yes. Yes, I think that's where I'm coming. That's actually probably why I even thought that. I thought, well, God was
Yeah.
alone, maybe when he's.
Right. And so there's this sense, and I even talked about the Big Bang, right, in that my last email. There's this sense of the one exploding into the many, and we only have to we talk about it in those terms because we can't grasp the one and the many being the same thing.
Right.
The one appears as the many. Again, my metaphor of music and the song, right? Music appears in countless forms simultaneously, but never loses its essential character as music for the potential of all songs. Without that potential, there could be no song. Right? So they
Yes.
coexist, right? The father and son, or the mother daughter, have to exist simultaneously. You can't have a mother without a daughter. You can't have a daughter without a mother. Can't have it.
Right.
So
Right.
everything coexists in the one. This is the true nature of the one. The one is, we think of this oneness as singular, consciousness alone, right? Well, it's only alone in reference to something else. But if I am all there is,
Right.
then
Ah.
there is no aloneness. The concept can't even exist.
Yes.
And if
Okay.
within me is the infinitude of all possible forms,
Yes.
then then even the concept of many folds into the concept of this one.
I think you're going to like this one, GP. And just before I ask this one, I just want to say hello to everyone here. Welcome to Home School. And I agree. I think Neptune is going to have to play a role here. Um, oh, we can have some form. Let's see if they're fuzzy, furry
Yeah.
forms.
Neptune
Everybody.
makes really big demands in his contract. Yeah.
That too. So I do have this really important question about the one to many. I think this is going to be an interesting one, but I do want to invite everybody, because we're doing the Om School Live format, which is class time here. In about 6 or so minutes, I will be doing a pause where then we can do some invitations, and then we can read the comments then and address everything. But just before that, that one to many, and by the way, that email, I do remember what you're talking about, because there was a gorgeous image that you chose for that. By the way, GP always has like mind-blowing images. Okay, so when we're little, maybe not everybody in the whole world has done this, but when we're little, we have and create imaginary friends. Our toys have they have
Absolutely.
personalities now. I had a blanket that was my best friend, and it didn't matter what it was, a blanket or a teacup or a toy or nothing, just the air. Is that our way also, that we are God into many, to have a different experience? Like, did we want to experience being a teddy bear? Do we want to experience being a GI Joe? I don't know. Do I ask?
Yes,
Like, can you
that's
talk about
exactly the
imaginary
case.
friends?
Yeah, the infinite experience. Without that splitting into many, there'd be no experience. But we imagine the one splitting itself, right? But how do you split that which is irreducible and indivisible?
Right.
So it never splits into anything, and yet at the same time, by virtue of its own nature, that it is consciousness and not a thing, it can create an entire universe without ever leaving home. And so it is in a sense like the child is pure imagination. And I'm noticing my granddaughter's 5 now, 5 and a half. And she now talks, she sees a difference between imaginary and pretend. She uses the word pretend. So, Baba, it's just pretend. Oh, okay. Right. But prior to this, a couple of years ago, it wasn't pretend, Elsa from Frozen was real. These were real
Yes.
people and real, they had real lives and stuff. And as adults, we begin to make this distinction, right? But what we define as real is that which has objective experience, right? The fact of the matter is that's not real either. It's still purely conceptual. I just now believe it to be objective, and that's the fall. That's that is when we begin to think that things exist independently from consciousness, rather than just an ever unfolding kaleidoscope within consciousness. And so the nature of all experience is consciousness. It is not it is not a container at all. Right?
Right.
It is the very substance of everything experienced.
When your granddaughter went from this is to we're just pretending, what happened? What? And I say this, and I'm going to connect this. My guy and I will watch TV. At night we'll watch a show, and I'll be really emotionally connected and stuff. And it ends, and then he's going to put on another show, and I'm like, whoa. Oh no! I got to process. Like, I was just in that world. What do you know? I need to have transitioning time here. That wasn't sad or something. I was feeling those emotions. So, do we as children, let's say your granddaughter, did she have to process? Like, was it sad to her that it was, and now it's just pretend?
No.
Like, was there?
No, it happens so naturally. It just, this is part of what means of becoming functional as an adult.
She's more mature than me.
Yeah, but we get stuck. We get stuck in the objectiveness of it and cut off that imaginary part, not realizing that it's all imaginary, and that even the thing that I think is the most solid and real is only in my own mind. That it's solid and real. This is this, and that you don't have to go all the way to the pure non-duality to grasp this. Right? We experience our concepts of things, not the thing. And the more we get in, the more we're experiencing and holding to the concept of thing, the more stuck we become, the more solidified, the less we flow. But if we realize it's just a momentary thing, you can allow it to flow. You can allow it to change. You realize that the body is constantly changing, and that's perfectly fine. And it doesn't. Nothing is lost from that, right? For her, right?
Okay.
Right, because the imaginary is still, vivid and all of that. But there's this other element that she can function in the world, because she can say, well, let's just pretend, and then she can be in the world, and she's still at that point where it's very easy to flow between the two. It's no big deal, right? As later on, as we develop, and this is especially true in teenagers, which are now facing having to adapt to a sense of identity that will function as an adult, now it becomes much more painful. The adolescence is the solidification. That's why teenagers are just so
Yeah.
Yeah, expletive deleted. They're just fucking nuts.
Yes. Oh, that's a beautiful analogy, that we go from so young, and our first one is from imaginary to is pretend, but then we go from kids to adult, whatever functions in that new the shape, the container.
Yes.
Okay, I love
And
that.
it has to conform to that container. Otherwise, you are mentally ill,
Yes.
and emotionally stunted. So it has to go through that process, and but then for most, that process never completes itself on the other side with awakening. And so we go through this lifetime after lifetime after lifetime, until at some lifetime the Dharma is finally heard and absorbed. And you go, oh my God, it's not true. It never was true. Right? Yeah. And then the process of cultivating and developing that awakening all the way up to perfect, to the samyak, anatura samyak sambodhi, the ultimate unparalleled enlightenment, which is, I am all this.
Yes. Oh, I felt that. I couldn't reword that, but I felt that one. Okay, I get it. I was like, oh, it was kind of a full
All
circle.
this is proceeded forth from me. It is all myself. And that's the pronouncement of Shiva, Brahma.
So beautiful. I can see people pouring in. So I was like, all right, okay, I will do my commercial break, my recess. As we do have a beautiful invitation. I love ringing that bell. Everybody, I'm so excited, so happy to be inviting you to join GP as I'm going to say it properly. We'll have a beautiful image showing up here in a second. It is praying for the world, and we're going to be doing this all together. It's a being the healing energy of divinity. And now is this teeny tiny on my little screen here. This is coming up, and I should have checked if it was Saturday or Sunday. Is it a Saturday? Sunday.
Saturday.
It is
March
Saturday.
19th
Yes.
is a Saturday.
Yeah. Yes, it is the Saturday. And it is absolutely you. Everybody is welcome to join us. If you're able to donate anything, we are just opening that right up. You do not have to, but anything, $1, $25, normally GP does charge $100 for us.
$10,000.
$10,000. Yes, we're not going to have any.
Your life savings, your firstborn.
There's no shape around the amount of donation. It's like
there's
water.
No shape.
But this will be 3 hours, and I actually have a beautiful screenshot here. What I'm loving about this particular I don't even call it prayer workshop, so to speak, that you are putting on is where's my picture? GP, there's four types of prayers that are being taught. And when I read this, it kind of blew my mind because I thought, wait a second here. This is very interesting. Where are they? GP, my goodness. I didn't get myself set up. I know the last one is I am. Because there's words I don't usually
rescue you?
I'm almost there. Where is it? Rescue me.
Okay.
Yes, please. Rescue.
Yeah, there are four. There are four different. You can think of them as types, but you could also see them as phases that we go through. And the first one is supplication. Right, that's Lord help me. It goes all the way from having some degree of faith that the Lord will help you, to all the way down to pure victimhood. Please, help me. I'm a terrible, horrible human being. Help me, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. The desire, there's something inside that wants us to look outside of ourselves, right? Now, this may seem like a contradiction to the other thing I keep saying, to look within yourself. But when that sense of self is so stuck, it is so constrained and contained and confined, the initial movement towards spirituality feels like a reaching out to something beyond yourself. And you are reaching out to something beyond the egoic mind. And that's a fact, right? But you're so identified with it, it seems like I'm reaching outward, not inward. And the traditional model of God throughout the West is God's the ultimate other, right? Creation, the creator made a creation separate from themselves, right? This is the Western world. This is the foundation of Western thought and all of the religions, and the inevitably horrible world we've created as a result. That begins to move into a more of affirmative prayer as more and more faith develops in this other. It becomes a matter of affirming, and the affirmative prayer is like the New Thought churches, like Unity and Science of Mind, as well as the law of attraction. The law of attraction is a prayer, right? That which you are affirming is still separate from you, be it a God, maybe it's a personal God, maybe it's more of an impersonal God now, God of love and allness, or the universe, right? The prayer to the universe, or the law of attraction, right? That's an affirmative prayer. I'm affirming these things about myself in the attempt to reprogram the mind. That begins to develop even further. I'm going to take this off the screen right now so we can see. Oops, wrong one, wrong form. That's the form. that develops even further into this. I call it the metaphysical, because the boundary between me and the other that I'm praying to is beginning to break down. And there's the affirmative can still be very self-oriented. Matter of fact, the law of attraction, it is, right? And there's still very much a personal sense of self there. But the metaphysical kind of takes on it's kind of the devotion of the supplication, that's self-sacrifice and looking outward, and the deeper sense of the bigger idea of a more universal God of affirmations. They begin to combine together, right? And the idea that this universal, wait a minute, I'm praying to the universe, but the universe isn't something separate from myself, right? There isn't the universe out there and then me, right? One. Okay, I'm part of that oneness, and you can see that's you're moving into a different space where there's less and less of you and more of this universal field potential, whatever you want to call it, right? And we have a bunch of names for it, until finally there's a merging with it. And there's only one I am. I am that I am. I am that I am, which is one of the most powerful statements in the Bible. That's exactly what Moses, or whoever wrote the stories and created the character of Moses, had experienced and was trying to lay down in mythological terms. Because Moses didn't exist either. He was just another character. So that's kind of it's really a progression. I talk about, levels or types, but it really is, like everything, it's a flow. There's no such thing as a hard line. You don't go first grade to second grade to third grade. You're just kind of moving through, right? With all sorts of different nuances. So is that enough to...
I was going to say we almost should have called it either the shape of prayer or the flow of prayer, but I like praying for the world. Yes,
it is, because I want to talk more about this during that, but the whole point is to redirect all this energy away from me towards other, out of the I and into the we, right? Because the prayer of supplication is for me. Lord, save me. But what happens when it's like, save the world, save us all, right? Not make me the hero so I make the touchdown and my team wins. That always gets me. Yeah. Oh, I want to thank God for the victory. And the other can even go, I want to hate God for the loss.
Yes. Yeah. And I think that we'll speak to a few people's comments, just about, feeling, we'll go through all the comments and questions, but I think that's what we're trying to offer. And thank you for the link there, everybody. Yes. And this is, you can just show up live. You're not registering, but if you'd like to donate, that we'd love for you to visit that link.
Yes,
specifically.
I want this open to absolutely everyone, but I got to keep the lights on. So
yes.
So I'm just making it by donation, but don't feel the least bit bad if you cannot donate anything, or if it's even $1, I don't care. Please come.
Yeah. Because by coming and being there, or watching it later when you can, is talking about what Jay is talking about here, is that the world is in need of this. And it's and it never feels fair or fun or good or all these things when so much horribleness is going on. And I'll let GP speak to more of that, and I will comb through the questions, because I saw one that there's a chunk and then it came back. So hold on here.
Oops. Sorry.
Did you?
I just accidentally hit it and it goes on the screen. So.
Oh, no problem. Yes.
Just fumble fingers. Yeah.
No problem. Hold on. I saw there's a question and then there was a little bit more added to it. Hold on here. Was it Elaine? Oh, there's a. Okay. Is it Ciara? Ciara. Hi, guys. Can one be aware of the essential truth of our non-dual nature, but choose instead to settle on trying to upgrade our created identity to just try to live a happy enough life? I've asked that question many times.
Yes.
And here's the
you know.
follow-up. Sorry, she asked because she often finds that non-dual followers seem to be miserable or in a perpetual state of seeking. And I think I would rather stop short, as I have felt such joy as I am, even if I am not real.
You are very real. The false sense of identity isn't real. And what happens when we lose the false? Do we then go into this horribly drab place? Or do we find the freedom of pure self expression? The false sense has contained self expression. Life needs to be a celebration. Yes, there's a great deal of misunderstanding about non duality because it has it has gotten stuck in the absolute. It's gotten stuck in the emptiness. And and even Buddha referred to the emptiness of emptiness, right? Take it all the way. The enlightened being is one with anything, with everything. What could be more ecstatic than that? One with everything, freedom to be, experience anything with no consequences, with no repercussions, with no moral overhead, with no suffering. That is the true promise. That the many and the one are one. They are not two. Therefore, the human life is celebrated and liberated. It is not confined. And so, when you see the non dual person who is just kind of like, in Zen, he would be getting the stick upside the head. It's like, dude, what's the matter with you? I mean, really, if it didn't make me more happy, why the hell would I do it?
Right.
Oh, yes, I want to be miserable, right? It's a what? So I'm going to wear burlap underwear, all day.
Scratchy.
All day long. It's like, oh my God. Yes, the happiness that you experience, that joy, as that false sense falls away, cannot help but infect and colonize the whole human nervous system. And 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 so at first, the desire to just have a better life will still be there, but after a while, you'll see that that desire for better life was nothing more than the desire to know yourself as who you are, that ultimate seeking of happiness. And the only mistake is we seek happiness in things and in people and in states of mind of different kind. That's the only problem. The desire for happiness is real. Of course it is. It just has to be directed into the right place where you find the source of happiness that cannot be stopped, that doesn't come and go with circumstances. The effect that has, I mean, think about it in terms of, manifestation, the law of attraction, right? The internal state determines the outer. Well, if the internal state is this absolute floodgates of happiness, what do you think this is going to look like?
Can we affect it so much that what Jay is speaking about, or we're all thinking about, can we be so happy and free and know ourselves that we can spill it out and affect others?
Of course.
Oh.
Of course. Yeah, of course you will. Yeah. That's prayer for the world.
Right. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, if I discover the fount of happiness within myself, it's obviously there in everybody. And so I no longer buy the delusions. I no longer buy into the corruption, to the divine. I don't buy into it. And I also see it as just a temporary phase that is going to pass away, because this is the reality. And me being in touch with that reality, I become the living example of that reality. That's the sage. It's not something I have, it's what I am. And therefore I am the presence of that in the world. I am the God come down to earth. I am the coalescence of heaven and earth. I am the avatar. I am the sage, the prophet. I am those things. It's not just something I know about. I'm it. I'm the living. I'm the living, breathing it. I am it in form.
These Yes, this is a good one on shape. Yeah, this and containers and consciousness and all. Oh, just
Hence
my goodness.
the ultimate prayer is I am.
Yes.
Now
Yeah.
you are prayer. You're not somebody
What,
praying, you are prayer.
I like that one better, actually. Yes. There. If we, is there a chance that we get there? Like, say I go, oh, okay, I get it. I'm feeling it. And then, we end this beautiful, homeschool life, and I step back into this other world. And then it's like, wow, all that smacks me back in the face. And
As it will.
and do I just forget that I am prayer, or do I have to work at keeping I am prayer?
Yes, you abide there. In the Ribu Gita, it says that self inquiry must be relentless. We have thousands of lifetimes of momentum. Okay. They're
Yeah.
not just going to go away because you had a high moment. Right? You had a big aha experience. But that whole momentum will continue to surface. But this is where the rubber meets the road. This is where, okay, I am now being invited to re-identify. The storyteller mind is still very active, creating yet another story, right? But the more I see it as not me, the less intimidating it is, and I can let the momentum simply run its course. And if I don't re-identify with it or feedback into it, because I alone am the source of its energy, I'm its life.
Yes.
And if I withdraw from it, it just kind of like a fan you've unplugged. It just.
Yeah.
But if I keep plugging the fan back in, why don't you stop? It's going to keep going. But this is where spiritual maturity comes in. This is where practice is necessary. It isn't enough to just assert the non-dual truth. You must live it.
Yes.
It
Yeah.
must become you, so that you are. Somebody asked Muji what was Papaji's highest teaching, because that was his teacher, and he said, I am his highest teaching. Because otherwise it's an idea, it's thought, it's conceptual, it's a teaching, right?
Yes.
But truth is living. The real truth is not an idea, it is a living thing, and that just happens to be you.
Because an idea has a beginning and an end, and the truth does not.
Does not. And you can have countless numbers of ideas that all express the truth.
Yes.
They come and go, but the truth that they express cannot be put into words. It's pure empty. It's pure emptiness itself, pure shunyata, the self.
Yes, that is beautiful. And then, thank you so much. Yes, thank you. I watched an audio teacher speak about her experience of allowing ego to fall away, which amounted to her crying and screaming into a damp towel for 8 months. Baby, no thanks.
No thanks.
No thanks. Oh.
No thanks. Yeah. No, it doesn't have to be that way.
So I do believe that, for this Saturday coming up is, I'm going to say this, this is how I would word this, is to bring your grieving, bring your whatever it is, anger, your happiness, your joy, so that we can go through these phases, this flow of prayer for all that you are and who we all are, because it's all that one. It's pulling it all back to that everythingness.
Yes. So it can be even our deepest fear and anger and even hatred. That some of the characters that seem to be perpetuating violence can be transmuted into that power of love that is what will really cure.
I believe we can. So, and A big thank you to everybody. Wow. Oh my gosh, it's exactly that time. I didn't plan that one. Oh, thank you everyone here for your comments and for hitting the like button. Just a friendly reminder on that, because we really do appreciate that. That is a donation as well. Just commenting and hitting the like button or sharing it with somebody. One of my favorite things to do is to nab the share button after and send it over to somebody, or give them a little timestamp of when there's something that came up that I think that they would really enjoy or benefit. It's my note taking and waiting for this Saturday. Thank you so much. Oh, everybody. We'll go into negotiations with Neptune, the sweet gray kitty, for our next show. And we'll see you guys all soon.
Right. He's like a rock star. He may show up, he may not,
Well, all right. I'll let
or 2 hours late.
There you go. Oh, thank you, Elaine. There you go. Share away. We love the sharing. Thank you, GP. Thank you so much. And we'll all see you on Saturday. Okay. Bye, everyone.
Bye.